ever since the launch of ChatGPT about 2 years ago, the world's been abuzz with AI, AI this, AI that. So, what I wanted to do is take something and bring it to life with AI. And I wanted to answer the question, does AI remove the need for artists? Are artists done now? Well, I had the pleasure of releasing this book about 2 weeks ago. It's called Wisdoms in the Wild. It's a collection of fables that I had been reading in classical Arabic, and I decided to bring them to life initially using AI. And I tried to do it myself. First, I set off, and my friend Naz and we translated many of the classical stories, and then we reimagined them with rhyme and meter and all this stuff. And then we actually got a Midjourney subscription, and we thought to ourselves, hey, listen, we're creatives, we're technologists, maybe we can just be creatives too. We're a little bit creative, we can probably do this. So then we started to prompt, I want something to look like this, I want something to look like that. And unfortunately, everything just came out looking blah, right? It came out looking very generic. It looked very AI. So then I had to ask myself the question, what is creativity and how do we understand it? And it really took me down a really philosophical path of what it means to be a creative. And that was all before I brought on the designer who was part of this project, Saad. And what I realized is the one thing that AI is really good at, specifically diffusion models and LLMs that we understand, is they're really good at pattern recognition. That's really what they're supposed to do, right? They've been trained on millions of images of dogs, for example, and now it's really good at telling you exactly what a dog looks like according to its data, because it's got enough data about dogs. And it can tell you what a cat is, it can tell you what a chair is, it can tell you all these types of things. It's very good at telling you if I said Sally sells seashells it's really good at telling you that the next word is going to be seashore. And it's really good because everybody watching this video, or most of you, probably already knew that the next word is seashore, because it's part of the training data that is applied to the model and it's trained on, because this is such a common phrase that we all know it. Well, the one thing AI is really good at is prediction. And unfortunately, following a pattern and being generic is quite literally the opposite of what you want a creative to do. So when we went to Saad, who is a designer, creative, he worked for Warner Brothers, HBO, Discovery, big list, right? But he was also a technologist. So I went to him and I said, let's listen, is it possible to make some of this stuff using AI? And his words were interesting, and perhaps we'll have another video where he talks about his journey to creating this project as well. And something he mentioned, which really struck me at the time, is, even if AI can do certain things, right? It can be a tool, just like Photoshop can help you remove the background of an image. It can help you add like Gaussian blur in the background of an image. What it's not good at doing is telling you when all those things need to be done, right? And that's the essence of creativity. A creative goes in and he creates that disruption. He creates this unique feel to something which really gives it that originality. And that's where Saad came in, and we started messing with a number of AI tools, right? Everything from Midjourney to Stable Diffusion to Leonardo to Flux to Imagen, all sorts of different tools, even going so far as to attempt to using Sora via video generation to see what we could come up with. And we learned a number of different things. For starters, No, artists aren't going anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think that the only people that might actually be around after the AIs get powerful is artists, because creativity is not something that AIs are good at. It can write you a passage, but almost anybody who knows English well enough or any other language well enough can tell you that AI adds this gloss, this generic feeling of creativity that's just kind of lost, that a human being doesn't have. It doesn't sound human. And of course it can't, because it's not human. It doesn't have a soul, right? And it won't ever. It doesn't matter how logically and intellectually smart it becomes. It's never going to have that creative genius that human beings have. At least that's my belief. So we started using these tools, and the first thing that we noticed is, one, the AI really doesn't understand composition. What do we mean by composition? It's the placement of elements on a page. So I'll use our book here as an example. You have this picture in which Ghuraba the crow is looking down at Hajala the quail. And Saad wanted a specific composition of the elements. We wanted Ghuraba on the right side of the page. We wanted the quail here. We wanted the foreground to look like this, the background to look like that. And you can tell the AI all of those things all you want. Achieving that result is almost next to impossible currently, because it just doesn't understand the vision that the creative has. And so what we found is, in order to do composition, we have to lay out the elements ourselves, right? All of them, whether it's the trees, whether it's the foreground, background, the sunrise, sunset, the characters, all of it. We had to decide where those elements will be, and then we'd have to create our own little picture, right? Whether it's a sketch drawing or we laid out the elements on a canvas in Photoshop or Affinity, and then we fed that into the AI. Now the AI then came back and gave us some awkward version of the composition that we created. Then we went through hundreds and hundreds, and I would say even thousands of different compositions to come up with the exact composition that we needed just for one picture. And then we said, okay, now what's the next thing we need to do? We need to have character consistency. And it's really, really, really important to have character consistency, because if you want to follow what's happening in a story, you have to make sure that the characters are the same. And so we tried a number of different methods, everything from training custom LoRAs, which are like custom trained models, tiny models, specifically to a certain set of images of characters or styles. And then we tried using that, but it's still not so good at that. So we tried creating character sheets and then trying to mess with that. And then after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of iterations of this, we finally created the character that we want for one story. Now, what happens when you have multiple characters? Now you have a multitude of problems on top of this. Now, these problems are 10 times worse when you don't even have the creative mindset of what you want. See, when Saad was working with us, Saad already knew what we wanted, right? He knew this is the type of crow I want. This is the type of quail I want. This is the type of coloring that we need to give it. And then even the crows and the quails and the characters that we got, they don't look like what we have in the book, because then we had to go in and heavily edit those characters in order to look like what we wanted them to look like. The third is style consistency. Each story within Wisdoms in the Wild is different, right? There's a color illustration, there's watercolor illustration, there's hand-drawn ink, there's this very vivid style, I forget what Saad called it. And each story is meant to represent a different style that Saad wanted to show the audience. And this was an extremely difficult task to accomplish with AI. This is something that took many, many, many generations. And then on top of that, we still didn't achieve it. So what did we do? Saad took it back to his own tools and then added style on top to achieve what he wants. Now, I'd like to go through and show you one specific picture, which took us a really long time specifically. So if you're able to see this in the video, so you'll see that this is a picture of a crow in a forest, and this is the last page of the story, of the first story, in which an owl is looking down at a bird that's very sad. Now, it might look, oh wow, this is an amazing picture, and I can tell you that it's AI, but I'll tell you that it's almost impossible to achieve this with AI without doing other things. And as a matter of fact, almost every single image on this page, from the trees to the owl to the crow to the background to the who to the words, every single element had to be created separately. And then we had to create this composition on a canvas separately. Now, you might, after hearing that, think, well, it doesn't sound like you use that much AI at all. And I think I would have to half agree and disagree. We did use AI, but I think we used it more as a tool than as the creative engine to create this project. And I think that's where the sweet spot lies. And I think that removes the frustration that a lot of people are creating. If anything, we didn't remove an artist. We realized that we need an artist, because this project and the goals that we were trying to accomplish with this were just not possible without artistic direction, right? It just wasn't possible to get what we wanted out of the AI, just myself as a technologist and a writer. So that's a little journey into what I think and what the process of creation with an AI is. And I think this isn't going to remove artists, but I think this might empower more creatives like myself to be able to build projects. And I think even you can build projects now, right? It empowers normal people to feel less daunted. Like, I'm not very good at drawing, but now what I can do is I can go to an AI and say, hey, I want to draw this thing. Can you give me an idea? And it can give me an idea. Now I can take this drawing over to an artist like Saad and say, hey, listen, I've got this idea. Can you make this better? Can you draw it and illustrate this? And then an artist can now use AI to further empower them. They don't have to do the grunt work of all the itty bitty details. Now, all they need to do is decide the composition and the colors and the layout and the actual tedious tasks of, for example, taking an image and removing the background, right? Or isolating some of the elements in an image. We didn't need to do that. Sometimes we needed to isolate a section of an image, and we could feed it to an AI and say, we just circle this part, we want to isolate this image, pull it out, and now we can use it in our editor like Photoshop or Affinity, and then mess with it. So that's a little tidbit. If you really liked this video and you like what you've heard, please give a like and subscribe. And Wisdoms in the Wild is now available for order on Amazon.com. The link is in the description below as well as in the video here. So please give a like and a subscribe, and we look forward to hearing what you think of Wisdoms in the Wild. We have our second book coming soon, and we're excited to show you the process of how we get to that version as well, because we're going to be trying a whole new set of different creative styles and different stories that we're going to bring to life, and we're excited to show you soon. Take care.